My friend Kirk Cameron has a new children's book out celebrating faith and family. It's called As You Grow. I don't have a copy yet, so I haven't read it, but I'm sure it's great. You know Kirk Cameron, very famous actor, probably even more famous for being the nicest and most wholesome and least objectionable guy you will ever meet in your entire life. Well, apparently some people are objecting to Kirk. Apparently, more than 50 public libraries are objecting to Kirk and have rejected him from presenting his book at reading hours for communities around the country. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially when you learn that many of those same libraries host drag queen story hours and similarly degenerate performances for little kids. One such library, Rochambeau Public Library, promotes something they call Queer Umbrella, which the library says is, quote, open to all members of the LGBTQ plus community who are 12 years and older. 12 years old. If you're a 12-year-old kid who's maybe a little bit confused about sex, and what 12-year-old isn't, by the way, especially these days, then the library wants you to come on down and hear some creepy dude in stilettos lecture you about all sorts of weird sex stuff. Tell you if you're a boy that maybe you're a girl, that sort of thing. But if you are a kid of any age who wants to learn about family and faith and good, normal stuff, you're out of luck. Because Kirk Cameron doesn't have stilettos, at least to my knowledge. Kirk doesn't have any miniskirts to wear. Kirk Cameron just has a nice family and a stable life and a nice book about how to live life in accordance with the good, the true, and the beautiful. And that message is considered far too dangerous by the surprisingly powerful people who want your kids all to themselves. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. My favorite comment yesterday is from Greg Bondry, who says, all I want for Christmas is for Michael's producers to bring back the bell whenever he says the title of his book, Speechless, Controlling Words, Controlling Minds. This is partially for the small dopamine hit every time the bell goes off, but also to remember back to a simpler time where we thought naively that the end of our republic was on the horizon and not at our front door, let alone a year and a half behind us. A great point. And I agree. I too want that for Christmas. I really want that for Advent so that it can ding if I mention the title of my book in the lead up to Christmas. Because as you know, one of the finest Christmas gifts you can possibly give to your friends and relatives would be the #1 national best-selling book, Speechless, Controlling Words, Controlling Minds. Hey, all right, baby, now we're talking. That's great. Wow, that's great stuff. You can add that to your cart right now. Speechless. Hello? Anybody? Oh, thank you. Speechless. Get it again? All right. They got to work out the kinks in the producer room. In the meantime, you know what you can do? You can protect your home with Ring. Right now, head on over to ring.com/collections/offers. With the holidays coming up, many of us will be traveling to see our families and loved ones very, very soon. You may find yourself away from home more often than not. That is why I've teamed up with Ring. With Ring security products, you can rest easy knowing that your home and family are safe when you're not there. The Ring doorbell notifies you when guests or packages arrive. Ring's indoor cameras let you keep an eye on kids and pets while you're away. Ring Alarm will alert you of any motion detection while the house is empty. Plus, if you had smart lighting around your home, you can turn lights on or off while you are away. Ring's home security products don't only keep your home and family safe, they also make perfect gifts for everybody on your list. I love Ring. It makes me feel a lot better when I'm away from home. It's not only something that I have gotten, but I have given it out to my friends. Makes a great housewarming gift. Makes a great Christmas present. Head on over to ring.com/collections/offers to find out how you can live less stressed this season with a Ring product that is right for you. That is ring.com/collections/offers. You just don't believe what is going on. Even if you read it in the papers, you just don't believe what is going on in the libraries. Even if you see it on the news, you just don't believe what is going on in the schools. Drag queens and stilettos get to dance around for toddlers. Kirk Cameron doesn't get to read a nice book about family. But that is going on. And it's so much worse than that. James O'Keefe at Project Veritas has just come out with an expose. A man named Joseph Bruno Joseph Bruno, Dean of Students at Francis W. Parker School. This is in Chicago. The Francis W. Parker School is a private school that goes all the way up to 12th grade, goes all the way down to pre-K. And here is what Dean Bruno had to say about his lesson plans.
I had our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Meet Joe Bruno, Dean of Students at the prestigious Francis W. Parker Private School in Chicago, which happens to charge $40,000 per student.
They're just passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're like, how does this butt plug work? How do we do, how does this work? That's a really cool part of my job.
Parents might be stunned to learn that Bruno's version of love and acceptance means handing out sex toys to underage students.
That's a really cool part of his job. That's the really cool part. What's so devastating about this clip is, one, it's more obscene even than I would expect, and my head is in the news all day long. It is very hard to shock me with anything going on in our schools and wherever these radicals reign. But this is a private school. This is a school that parents pay $40,000 for. This is what happens when you look at the public schools and you say, man, the public schools, they're so bad, they're so crazy, they're filling our kids' heads with such nonsense, especially in Chicago. Okay, I'm going to take this big financial hit. I'm going to pay a full college tuition every single year, pre-K through grade 12, to send my kid to this private school so that he can be groomed into weird, creepy sex stuff from a very, very young age, while the dean of students is giddy and bragging about it. That's how bad it is. And we don't believe it because we're always about 5 years behind, we conservatives. We're always kind of fighting the last battle, and the libs have moved on. And it just kind of breaks our brains. Even listening to that clip, my brain just kind of breaks. I think he can't, what does he really mean? What is he really saying? He can't possibly mean that. That is what he means. That is what he is doing. Now, the good news is conservatives are winning a little bit at pushing back on some of the woke stuff. We're not really winning in the schools all that well. We're not really winning in the media all that well. We're not really winning at the ballot box these days all that well. We are winning on one front, though, and that would be the ESG agenda. We are winning on the investor side of things. You've heard about ESG, that's the environmental, social, and governance policies that is just a kind of woke smorgasbord of policies that major asset managers demand that the companies that they invest in start to put into effect. The example that I keep using is that Cracker Barrel. The other day I was driving past a sign for Cracker Barrel and it said, come try our new vegetarian sausage. It's the Impossible sausage. It doesn't have any meat in it. And I thought, wow, ESG is real, because the vegetarian sausage at Cracker Barrel is obviously not in response to any consumer demand. It's not in response to market forces. Not one single vegetarian has ever walked into Cracker Barrel, not once. Okay, this is obviously in response to some woke Looney Tune calling them up from the asset managers and saying, hey, you need to wokeify your menu. So what did I do? I Googled, I said, who are the investors in Cracker Barrel? And what do you know? I forget who was number one and who was number two and who was number three, but it was BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all these guys that are the big asset managers who are pushing this. So really good news, Vanguard is pulling out of the Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative. Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative is one of these far-left environmentalist policies being pushed in our economy. Vanguard, which is one of the three biggest asset managers, is pulling out of that. Why is Vanguard pulling out? Vanguard says it's going to withdraw to, quote, provide the clarity our investors desire about the role of index funds and about how we think about material risks, including climate-related risks. Okay, kind of a bland statement. Well, we just want to provide some more clarity on how we're using our investors' money. Yeah, okay. Who are the investors, though? Is Vanguard doing that because you or I maybe have some money in Vanguard or our retirement accounts or somehow tied to Vanguard? Or not really. The reason why Vanguard is doing this is because states are pulling their money from these woke funds. It wouldn't be enough if it were just me and you. It wouldn't be enough if it were the entire Daily Wire. Daily Wire has 1 million members, and we have many millions of readers and listeners across all of our shows and website. We've got 1 million active members who are paying a bunch of money to support the Daily Wire program, very much on board. If every single one of us called up Vanguard tomorrow and said, pull your money from these woke initiatives, Vanguard would laugh at us, okay? That's not enough. But what did happen? It wasn't just some group of people, some community, even a big company like the Daily Wire. The state of Texas called, okay? The state of Texas announced that they are pulling out of these woke asset managers, people like Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock. You've seen similar moves from red states all around the country. And we've been reporting on this for about 6 months now. This is key, and I hope that conservatives learn the lesson. The lesson here is that what fixed this problem, or what is starting to fix this problem, is not the market. It's not the free exchange of ideas and goods and services. What is fixing this problem right now is wielding political power. What is fixing this problem right now is the heavy hand of the state. Okay? People electing Republicans, putting them into office as state treasurers and similar offices, and then those state treasurers punishing these companies and saying, you jerks, if you keep using investor money to both retail investors and big institutional investors, big state investors like us, we are going to punish you, and we're going to pull our money out. We don't give a damn what your returns are. We're going to pull it out because we don't want you pushing your weird, creepy leftist policies. And what happens? The asset managers blink. That's a very, very good thing. Conservatives used to understand how to wield political power. They haven't in the last couple of decades. 10, 20 years ago, you would have heard the conservatives say, well, that's not right. That's fascism. If the state treasurers call the asset managers and say, don't trans the kids and get rid of all of the food that we like and upend our way of life, that's fascism. It's authoritarian. We can't ever stop the left from controlling our corporations. Yeah, no, we can't. Oh, and it's called self-government. Okay, that's why we elect these people in the first place, is to put the will of the people within the bounds of law and the Constitution into effect. We're not going to make an idol out of environmentalism. We're not going to make an idol out of the weird sex stuff. We're not even going to make an idol out of the free market, this ideal that doesn't actually exist in practice. We are going to say, hey, politicians, put your constituents first and represent our views, because we are supposed to live in a self-governing republic. And by golly, we're going to keep trying to live in one as long as we possibly can. One way to prolong our republic is to spread the messages of PragerU. Our country might be heading in the wrong direction, but PragerU videos could help save the future of America. PragerU makes educational, pro-American content that has been changing people's minds for over a decade. Their impact is pivotal in these times. Did you know that 70% of viewers have changed their minds after watching a PragerU video? Did you know that 60% of viewers are under the age of 35? My friends over at PragerU are reaching millions of people with their educational videos, but they have a long way to go. You can help PragerU reach thousands more people by joining Club 5 for just $5 or more per month. $5 per month is only 17 cents per day. 17 cents per day is less than 1 cent per hour. Okay, it's nothing to get all that great PragerU content, the 5-minute videos, the kids content, the book club hosted by yours truly. Your gift will ensure that PragerU has the support it needs to be here for the long haul. Join a movement with thousands of fellow patriots in the fight to save America. Help PragerU reach thousands more people with messages of truth, liberty, and American values. Join Club 5 today and receive a free PragerU bumper sticker plus an ebook of scripts from PragerU's 5-minute videos. Join at PragerU.com/Club5 today. Until recently, it seemed as though the state was only being wielded by the left, and the right was pretty much surrendering on that. Okay, but the left was wielding the state to great effect. We're learning more about that now. So you know about the Twitter file story. We've been talking about it, which is where the DNC colluded with Twitter to censor conservatives, to give an advantage to Joe Biden, possibly to swing the election to Joe Biden, specifically through the censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story. But until now, until the machinations of Twitter and the deep state became clear, Elon Musk revealed them just a couple of days ago, that actually the lawyer at Twitter who was vetting the Twitter files release and expose actually had been a major and controversial FBI lawyer. The whole thing just stunk to high heaven. But we do know that the FBI was putting pressure on Twitter with regard to the Hunter Biden laptop story. We have a report from the New York Post that shows that the FBI sent frequent and fake warnings to Twitter in October 2020 about the upcoming hack and leak operation that targeted Hunter Biden. And one of the arguments for censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story was that it was hacked material. But it wasn't hacked material. Hunter Biden, presumably on some bender, just dropped his broken laptop off at a repairman and didn't pick it up, and then the repairman gave it to Rudy Giuliani. It gets even more corrupt, though. How did the FBI even know about the laptop? The FBI knew about the laptop because they were spying on Rudy Giuliani. Why were they spying on Rudy Giuliani? Well, they just made up a reason that they ended up dropping. So this is according to Miranda Devine, who was the person who broke the Hunter Biden laptop story at the New York Post. She said, the FBI was spying on Trump's then lawyer, Rudy Giuliani's online cloud, under the pretext of an investigation into alleged foreign agent registration violations, a probe which conveniently was dropped this year. Do you remember that? I vaguely remember this from the 2020 campaign. There was this allegation that Rudy Giuliani had done all this work for foreign powers, and so the FBI apparently was investigating him, but it was all bogus. It was just totally fake. It was the same sort of fake pretext that you saw the last time the FBI spied on Trump, when they spied on Carter Page, when they spied on the Trump campaign in 2015 and 2016. So it was just bogus, and then the FBI found out about this, and they said, yikes, we can't have this dirt on Biden getting out. And then they send these bogus warnings to Twitter and Facebook and lied and said that it was hacked material. And then Twitter and Facebook and Google, of course, censored the information. It's just so corrupt, but you got to hand it to the libs. It was an effective operation. Okay? Immoral, unjust, wrong. I don't think Republicans should engage in this kind of thing. But we should wield the state. We should have our own effective political state operations. Now, ours, I would like to not break the law and to not be immoral. But come on, guys, we can't just surrender the whole field, all right? The libs wield the state very, very well. Republicans, on just the handful of times we actually try it, as in the case of the ESG asset managers, as in the case of defunding Woke Incorporated, which is what these state treasurers are doing right now, it works really, really well. Keep it up. Let's do more of that. Let's stop being so government phobic. Let's stop being so political power phobic. If Republicans aren't going to wield political power, there's no reason to give it to them ever. There's no reason for people ever to vote for them. Now, the libs aren't going to give up wielding political power. They're trying now. They're actually still going after Twitter. The mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, has launched a new investigation into Twitter. What could they possibly be investigating Twitter for now? What could they possibly be doing? Elon Musk has just made this acquisition. The whole thing was so public. It was all in court. What on earth? The guy has fired a lot of his staff, or the staff has voluntarily left. So there aren't even that many people you could what on earth could they possibly investigate him for? Beds. And I know how that sounds. They're not investigating Twitter for any alleged sex stuff going on. They're investigating Twitter because Elon Musk has brought some beds in to allow employees who are working around the clock to take little naps. When Elon Musk took over, he said, look, to get Twitter back on the right track, it's on the brink of collapse. To get it back on the right track, we're going to need a core team of very competent people to work a lot. Elon Musk obviously works constantly. He's famously a workaholic. He said, but we need people to start showing up. Before Elon Musk took over, most of Twitter wasn't even showing up to the office. It was just that COVID vacation going on into 2022. And Elon said, you got to show up. Can't be working these 6-7 hour days, folks. You're going to need to be working a lot to right the ship. And so, as a courtesy, he provides some beds if you ever want to take a nap. San Francisco says no, it's a zoning issue violation. They're sending in building inspectors to launch an investigation to make sure the building is being used as intended. So what would they rather have happen? Would they rather have the Twitter employees taking naps in bathroom stalls, as happens on Wall Street? That's what happens for the young associates at Wall Street banks who are working 15-hour days or more, 16, 18-hour days sometimes. They'll just go in and take a stall nap for 10. Is that what they want? Or would it be nicer to be able to go lie down on a couch, lie down on a bed or something like that, take a 20-minute nap, get right back to work? No. Of course, though, it has nothing to do with zoning worries. No one really thinks that Twitter's turned into an apartment building. It's just about constantly harassing the workers. Can you imagine what the left-wing companies are doing? Oh, we know, actually, with Google. Google has all sorts of these amenities. No one ever launches an investigation into Google. Why? Because Google does the bidding of the liberal establishment. And the moment that Elon Musk, who is kind of on the left, he's not some rock-ribbed conservative, the moment that he steps out of line, they use the full force of the state to try to shut him down. So they're really busy investigating the linen at Twitter headquarters in San Francisco. So they don't really have time to subpoena the greatest financial scam artist, potentially of all time, Sam Bankman-Fried, who is responsible for the collapse of FTX, the second largest cryptocurrency exchange. He lost zillions and zillions of dollars of investor money in a scam where he was illicitly using money from his alleged investors and the people who were trading on his cryptocurrency platform to just back funnel it into a hedge fund that he was running. He, with his kind of eccentric girlfriend and this gaggle of misfit kids who were running a kind of weird amphetamine-fueled sex cult in the Bahamas. We're not going to investigate that guy. But Elon he brought a couple mattresses into Twitter, so we've got to sick the feds on him. How do we know that the Democrats are not going to subpoena Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF? Well, because Maxine Waters, anti-Maxine, House Financial Services Committee chairman, she said she's not going to do it. She tweets out, she says, Sam Bankman-Fried, your willingness to talk to the public will help the company's customers, investors, and others. To that end, we would welcome your participation in our hearing on the 13th. This is as gentle an invitation as you can possibly get. Hey, would you mind, maybe, if you're free, if you can leave the amphetamine-fueled orgies for a moment and get off your pile of money that you stole from people, would you mind showing up to Capitol Hill, please, to talk about your theft? And he responds, absolutely not a fear in the world. He says, once I've finished learning and reviewing what happened, I would feel like it was my duty to appear before the committee and explain. I'm not sure that will happen by the 13th, but when it does, I will testify. Okay, that's fine. No big deal. This is one of the greatest crimes, not of the century. This is one of the greatest crimes of the past several centuries. We're talking about the theft of so much money. Instantly, billions and $15.5 billion disappear overnight. And just in Sam Bankman-Fried's supposed net worth. Not so, okay, well, you let me know when you're ready, Sam. Why? Maxine Waters will not subpoena Sam Bankman-Fried over the FTX collapse because she has no incentive to. Because Sam Bankman-Fried bankrolled, not just her, bankrolled all of the Democrats. He was the second largest donor to Democrats in this last election cycle. So no, the Democrats aren't going to subpoena him, and he's not afraid that he's really going to be subpoenaed. This is a symbiotic relationship where you scratch my back, I scratch your back, no big deal, on an insane scale. Think about the news story we just got yesterday, that the Attorney General in New York and all these investigators have spent how many years now investigating Donald Trump's business, building a case against him, throwing everything they can at him, wasting who knows how many millions of dollars of taxpayer money to find out that two divisions of the Trump organization sort of fudged their taxes a little bit and levied a $1.6 million fine on them. Yeah, we got you now, Trump. We're going to get $1.6 million from you. New York Times calls it a rounding error. Meanwhile, you've got the biggest financial scam ever going on, but it's a Democrat donor who is the head of that scam. And so, okay, never mind. Sweep it under the rug. It is so crooked. And speaking of corruption in our government, we've got this new report here, right here from the DailyWire, about how the CIA may have had a relationship with the man who killed Kennedy. We're still debating the man who killed Kennedy all these years later. And what's so interesting about it is how the sides have sort of flipped in people's theories. Lee Harvey Oswald, he's the man who killed Kennedy. New report says that Oswald was tied to the CIA before the JFK assassination, right before the JFK assassination. Why is this coming out now? Jefferson Morley is a journalist and an author, and he said this during a press conference in D.C. on Tuesday. This is less than 2 weeks before the December 15th deadline to release still classified records related to the JFK assassination. So even now, 60, 70 years later, I guess about 60 years later, we've got information that is still classified about the Kennedy assassination. And Morley, who's this journalist, says, quote, "What the CIA is hiding is what they've always hidden, which is their sources and methods as they relate to Lee Harvey Oswald. We're talking about smoking gun proof of a CIA operation involving Lee Harvey Oswald, asserting that this took place in the summer of 1963, not long before the Kennedy assassination." And Oswald later denied killing Kennedy. He said that he was just a patsy. And then, of course, we never had a trial because Lee Harvey Oswald was shot dead on national TV at the Dallas police headquarters by Jack Ruby. Now, the story's always been that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, only one gunman, government didn't know anything, government didn't do anything. Conspiracy theories have always swirled around. I don't use that term derisively. As we know these days, the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is about 3 to 6 months. But I just mention it because they are theories about potential conspiracies involving the communists, involving the mob, involving the government, involving all sorts of people, involving LBJ, and there are all sorts of theories about this. The most interesting part of the story to me is that for the whole time I was growing up, the people who peddled the conspiracy theories about the Kennedy assassination, that is, the people who did not believe the official government story, were on the left. It was always the leftists. It was always Oliver Stone. It was always these far left wingers who said, no, it was the CIA, no, it was this, it was that. The people on the right generally accepted the government story and said, no, look, the guy was a communist, and a communist went out and killed Kennedy, and that's that. It's a simple case. That has started to change. Today, the roles have basically flipped. Today, it is, even beyond the Kennedy assassination, it is the left that defends the CIA. It is the left that defends the FBI. It is the left that defends the deep state and the government. It is the right that is very skeptical of all of those organizations. It is the right that is skeptical of all of those institutions. What does this represent? Well, it just represents in the perception, the popular perception. 20, 30 years ago, there was this perception that the Republicans were kind of the establishment. I'm not saying that was true. I'm just saying that was the perception. Today, it is firmly established in the minds of everybody. The libs control all those institutions. The libs control the government and the deep state and all the rest of it. And the libs lie through those institutions constantly. And the conservatives are realizing this. The conservatives saw this right up close during COVID. The conservatives saw this right up close during the FBI scam, the Russia hoax. The conservatives saw this right up close during the new FBI scam, pressuring big tech to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story. The conservatives saw this up close with the FBI scandal when Obama's IRS went after conservative groups. We've just seen this so much for years. And so when people raise questions about the Kennedy assassination, especially on the right, that's not the conservatives' fault. That's not the fault of tinfoil hat fueled crazy conspiracy theories. It's the fault of the deep state. It's the fault of those institutions. It's the fault of the left, which has wielded them in a very corrupt way. Speaking of John Kennedy, a different John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, has a manifesto for conservatives, a clip that just went viral a few days ago.
These woke, high IQ, stupid people, they're easy to recognize. They hate George Washington. They hate Thomas Jefferson. They hate Dr. Zeus, and they hate Mr. Potato Head. These woke, high IQ stupid people, they walk around with Ziploc bags of kale that they can eat to give them energy. Now, if you want to eat kale, that's up to you. I don't eat kale. You know why? Because kale tastes to me like I'd rather be fat. And these high IQ stupid people, the wokers in charge in Washington, D.C., the berserk wing of the Democratic Party, they hyperventilate on their yoga mats if you use the wrong pronoun. They're all over Washington, D.C.
Hear, hear. I adore this bit. I absolutely adore this stump speech from John Kennedy. It's not the most specific one. Well, it is specific in the details of the jokes he's making. But I just love this idea of going after the high IQ stupid people in this really clunky comedic way. Because John Kennedy is an extremely intelligent and extremely educated man. This guy has degrees from Vanderbilt, UVA, and Magdalen College, Oxford in the United Kingdom. This guy is very, very educated. And he comes out and he talks like Foghorn Leghorn. And really, the comparison that I see here is with Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald, also brilliant, brilliant guy, not particularly educated, self-educated, but brilliant, extraordinarily intelligent guy, who would play kind of a dummy. They'd say, well, you know, man, I'm not really a smart guy, you know, or anything like that, but everything what they say, and then he would just hit you with something that was so sharp and incisive and would destroy the pretensions of our supposedly genius betters who run the world. The thing that conservatives have to do, well, one, what it embodies is a kind of humility where we don't need to always seem like the fanciest people in the world, and we believe in all the really fashionable theories, and we're taken very seriously at all the cocktail parties and all these nice fancy apartments in New York. And no, we got to forget about that. There's a kind of humility that says, no, I'd rather be with truck drivers than with the Dr. Fauci's of the world. The truck drivers actually understand the world better. Okay, and I know that's not how it's presented in the popular culture, but it is the case. Fauci, wrong about everything. Truckers, right about a lot of things. Maybe not everything, but a lot of things. Okay, that's just the way that it works. Roger Scruton said that the job of a conservative intellectual is to articulate things that ordinary people understand intuitively. That's the job. It's kind of a nice job, a pretty easy job, because normal people kind of get it, and it's just the self-styled intellectual elite of our ruling class that don't understand these sorts of things. What conservatives have to do is awaken people from the intellectual trance of our idiotic elite, because there are a lot of people, especially young people, especially people in college and high school, and where all of the elite leftists are really preying on them and trying to warp their minds, who they want to be the smart people. They say, well, all the people in the fancy lab coats, all the people with the fancy neckties, they're all on the left. And we need to awaken people to that and point out that these are high IQ, stupid people. I'm sure that a lot of our elite have relatively high IQs, but they're stupid. They say things that are not true. They say things like men can become women. They say things like babies aren't people. They say things like the world's going to end in 5 years because of the sun monster. They say all sorts of stupid things. And I think the John Kennedy approach is a great way to do it. We'll say, y'all hear about this? I don't want to eat kale, because kale, when I taste it, it makes me want to be fat. It's a great bit. Now, speaking of many of the things we've just been discussing, Lizzo just attempted to normalize abortion at the People's Choice Awards.
I'd like you to meet Amelia Bono, co-founder of Shout Your Abortion, who is working to normalize abortion, increase awareness of abortion pills, and motivate people to work in support of abortion access in their communities. Make some noise. Yeah, we still going.
Yeah, we're still going. Kill all your babies. Woo! oh yeah, we're gonna go and then she goes down the line with all the other woke causes, and the abortion lady she talked to holds up a sign and it says, abortion pills forever. Yeah, pop that poison pill and murder your precious child. Wow! And then the crowd is just out there. They're like, wow, give us Barabbas. Wow, yeah, give us Barabbas. And you look at the scene and you think, it was ever thus. It was ever thus. We are tempted to look at these things and say, wow, oh man, this has never happened before. Maybe the specific iterations of the madness of crowds has never happened before, but this sort of reaction to wicked, false, evil things, this has happened. This often happens, okay? If you were to watch that clip with the sound off, those of you who are listening in the car right now, if you go back, you watch it, you turn the sound off, you could still tell, not hearing a word that they're saying, that these people are on the wrong side of things. You could tell because no one there seems to be in control of their passions. They just seem like a ravenous, appetitive, monstrous sort of crowd. There's Lizzo just screaming and kind of gesticulating wildly everywhere. She's obviously not in control of a lot of her life. And then the mad crowd, like, yes, give us the babies. Yeah, give me so I can kill the babies. And then you've got the woman she points to and she's, well, shaking that sign. Yeah, let's keep going. And they're obviously not in control of themselves. So it's actually a kind of encouragement. When you look back and see how the truth has been treated throughout history, it is an encouragement to those of us who are living today. And we say, wow, no one's ever had it this bad. Well, look what they did to Socrates, okay, who said a lot of true things. Look what they did to Jesus, who is the truth. Okay, this is what crowds do. And this is often what political orders do, because the prince of this world is the devil, who is the father of lies, okay? So that sort of thing is going to happen. We are going to have a tough slog. It doesn't matter, though. We should take comfort. We're in this Advent season right now. We should take comfort because our Lord has overcome the world. Okay, we know how the story ends. The story ends happily, but there will be a lot of tribulation in the meantime. There will be a lot of challenge in the meantime. It's okay. That's a good thing. All right, it's an honor to be born into a time of great challenge and great tribulation. The way that we are going to have success, the way we are going to overcome these things, is, well, to be sort of childlike. It gets back to what John Kennedy's comedy routine there. It gets back to the wisdom of Norm Macdonald. It gets back to how we stand up to the people who run the academic institutions and all the media. We just ask kind of simple questions. We say, I know, I saw your whole scientific presentation. I listened to your whole lecture about how 12-year-olds need to be indoctrinated into weird sex toy stuff and how boys are actually girls and how we need to kill all of the babies and how the sun monster is going to eat us all in 5 years. But but is that real? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think I'm going to stick with the good old-fashioned way of doing things. All over the country, wives, mothers, sisters, and daughters are standing up for the strong men and boys in their lives by kicking woke razor companies out of their bathroom and replacing them with Jeremy's Razors. Jeremy's Razors is a premium men's grooming company that, shockingly, does not hate men. The Precision 5 razor will trim his beard, not his masculinity. And the new American-made hair, body, and skincare line has got his whole routine covered. It's a win-win. You love that he's cleaning up without parabens or sulfates. He loves that he's supporting a company that doesn't hate his guts. Jeremy's Razors is 100% woke-free. Now, 30% off when you order by December 15th. Other so-called men's care brands, they work to make guys feel bad. Jeremy just wants to make you look great, okay? Kick those woke companies out of your man's bathroom this Christmas. Go to dailywire.com/Knowles today. Get 30% off this gift bundle. Speaking of attention addicts, there's a writer and producer for Grey's Anatomy who's in the midst of a big scandal right now. This woman has just been exposed as having made a whole bunch of claims about her life that turned out not to be true. So this woman has claimed, this woman's name is Finch. Forget what her first name is. No, it doesn't really matter. She's a writer-producer on Grey's Anatomy, very popular show. And she had a real sob story. She said that she had cancer, very bad, and an abortion. Oh, that's very bad too. And a kidney loss. Oh, that's very bad. And then her brother killed himself. Wow, that's very bad. And then she had to take a leave of absence. You think, man, I mean, I know when it rains, it pours, but this lady, she's like Dr. Doom over here. Everything just keeps going wrong for her. She takes a leave of absence. Ultimately, she resigns from the show. Turns out it was all fake. She just made all of it up. She said, quote, "When you get wrapped up in a lie, you forget who you told. What you said to this person and whether this person knows that thing. And that's the world where you can get caught." She just kind of came clean in this long interview with the Ankler. So I don't need to worry about that now. How did it all start? It started because she got a knee injury. That was the real part. It wasn't that she got cancer and an abortion and lost a kidney and her brother killed himself. The real issue is she hurt her knee a little bit. And then she said instead of getting addicted to medication, she became addicted to all the attention that she was getting, all the care, all the pity and sympathy that she was getting. And so as she recovered, she started to lose that attention and that sympathy. And she was so desperate to get it back that she made up all of these problems. This all started to unravel when she met this woman, Jennifer Beyer. It turns out this lady, Finch, is a lesbian. And so she meets this lady and then they have a romantic relationship together. And the lady says, hey man, hey lady, you're lying. You gotta come clean about all of this. And she does come clean. So obviously, look, this is a very troubled woman. She's got all sorts of confusion in all parts of her life. But it's not just her. This is the whole culture. The whole culture exalts victimhood. We know that. I'm not saying anything you haven't heard before. Victimhood carries currency in our culture. That is why we're told that white people have privilege and black people are oppressed, and why we have so many instances of white women pretending to be black. Let's just go with the premise for a second that there is such a thing as white privilege and there is such a thing as black oppression in America. Just go with them for a moment. Well, if that's all true, then why is it that the people who supposedly believe that often are white people who then pretend to be black? Rachel Dolezal, that NYU professor, a number of other people in these high-profile cases. Why is it that Jussie Smollett pretends to be robbed by white supremacists in MAGA country with a noose and a Subway sandwich? Why is it that virtually every time you see a hate hoax on campus, racial or sexual, it turns out to be just that. It turns out to be fake. Whenever you see the N-word written on a dorm room wall, guess who wrote it? 999 times out of 1,000, it's going to be the black student himself. Every time you see a noose hanging on campus, who put it there? Every time you see a swastika, who put it there? It's always done by the alleged victims. Why? Because victimhood has currency. But why does victimhood have currency? That's the question a lot of people won't answer. The reason that victimhood is carrying currency right now is because our culture cannot attain excellence. I'm sure we could. We're just not willing to do the things that are required to attain excellence. And so, because we're in a normal society, the way you get social currency is by doing impressive things, by being physically excellent, intellectually excellent, achieving something in business or politics. But today, if you're physically really strong and beautiful and fit, that's called toxic masculinity. We got to get rid of that's awful. That's evil. If you're really, really beautiful, you're just conforming to those evil traditional social norms and beauty norms. If you build a big successful business, you're a greedy, evil capitalist. You probably only got that by exploiting people. And this is just because people are not inclined, they're not willing to put in the work, they're not really willing to accept the humility that is required to attain excellence. And so a culture that refuses to attain excellence is going to be a culture that elevates frailty, infirmity, victimhood. That's what's happening. And so you're going to see a lot more of it. This confused lady on Grey's Anatomy, she is the tip of the iceberg, okay? She is one exemplar of a very sick culture. Even the most celebrated and privileged people do this. Jennifer Lawrence just did an interview with Variety. Jennifer Lawrence, one of the most celebrated, wealthy, privileged people in the world. Jennifer Lawrence talking about how she overcame oppression, how oppressed she still is.
I remember when I was doing Hunger Games, Nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie because it wouldn't work. We were told girls and boys can both identify with a male lead, but boys cannot identify with a female lead.
Oh, absolutely.
And it just makes me so happy every single time I see a movie come out that just blows through every single one of those beliefs and proves that it is just a lie to keep certain people out of the movies, to keep certain people in the same positions that they've always been in. And it's just amazing to watch it happen and watch you at the helm.
Lara Croft is the hardest hit. Before Jennifer Lawrence, there were no female stars of action movies. I thought, I don't watch a lot of movies, a lot of new movies, so I thought, oh, maybe, is that true? And wait a second, what about Lara Croft? Remember that from 2000, 2001? That was like 20 years ago. We had a female action hero. And then I kind of Googled it, looked it up. There was Linda Hamilton, obviously in Terminator, 1984. Sigourney Weaver in Aliens, 1986. Bridget Fonda, 1993, Point of No Return. Gina Davis in The Long Kiss Goodnight, 1996. You've got, obviously you've got Uma Thurman, Kill Bill. You've got Mila Jovovich, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but Resident Evil. You remember Resident Evil? That was also 2003. So, there have been a bunch of women who were action stars, and it wasn't really all that hard for Jennifer Lawrence at all, compared to any other actress, compared to any other actor, for that matter. But it's not enough for Jennifer Lawrence to go out and say, I'm really beautiful, I'm really privileged, I'm in all of these movies, I'm very wealthy. She has to frame it as, I overcame such oppression that still exists. And so what's the point she's making, by the way? Even to the point that she's making, she says, it was just commonly understood that everyone can identify with a male action hero, but not everyone can identify with a female action hero. Well, yeah, that's true. That part is true. That part's obviously true. Why? There are more male action heroes than female action heroes, of course, because there are more men engaged in public action in the world than there are women. And especially when we're talking about action movies, because that typically requires physical strength and men are stronger than women. What she's really complaining about here is that the movies, even big sensational movies, even action movies, are reflecting reality too much. And that's terrible. It's this insistence that no, the women have to be like the men. It's wrong to portray men doing things that men ordinarily and traditionally and naturally would do. No, the women have to do that too. Wah, wah, wah. I hate reality. That's what it so often comes down to. Wah, wah, wah. I hate reality. Kirk Cameron has a book coming out on how family is good and faith is good, and here are the good, true, and beautiful things that you should follow. No, we can't have that. That's too in line with reality. No, we've just got to pass out gay sex toys to kids pre-K through grade 12 in Chicago. No, that's what we have to. We have to constantly contradict reality because of how offensive it is. And then when reality reasserts itself, when it rears its ugly head, we can whine and complain. Even when we're the most privileged, famous, wealthy people on the face of the earth. If that does not convince you to avoid leftism, if that does not convince you to live a more conservative life, I don't know what will. Because you look at conservatives, even conservatives with very humble stations that don't have a lot of money, that don't have a lot of power, don't have a lot of influence, they're very often quite content. And you look at the most famous, powerful, richest, influential leftists in the world, and they're almost always miserable. And they get into really weird stuff. The further up you go, the more you get into the realm of high luxury and haute couture and all these sorts of things. Well, Balenciaga. You look at Balenciaga. The faces of Balenciaga are the most famous, wealthy people on earth. And what's Balenciaga peddling? Blood and guts and gore and chains and dungeons and pedophilia and Satanism and all this really weird stuff that I don't understand. Perhaps in part because I'm a man, so I have a panel of women here to explain it to me. The rest of the show continues now. You do not want to miss it. If you're not a member, click the link in the description and join us.